Ethan Cross wiped the sweat from his brow as he looked out across the jagged horizon of the alien world. The sky was a strange shade of violet, streaked with clouds that glimmered faintly like broken glass. Dust swirled around the remains of what had once been a trading hub, now reduced to rubble after a recent skirmish between rival merchant clans. Ethan's ship sat crookedly on the ground, one landing leg bent, and he knew he had to find a way to settle his debts or die trying. His communicator buzzed, a harsh reminder of the debt hanging over him. The Horkin merchant clan had been patient until now, but patience had limits. Ethan had underestimated the cost of negotiating with aliens whose politics were more dangerous than any battlefield he had ever faced. And now, stranded, he had no credits left to pay them. He had only one option, and it was as desperate as it sounded. A shadow moved among the ruins. Ethan instinctively reached for the blaster at his hip, his fingers tightening around the grip. From the dust emerged a figure, a small, slender alien girl. Her skin shimmered faintly, pale green under the violet sky. Her eyes were large, almond-shaped and deep violet, reflecting intelligence and curiosity. She wore a simple tunic, torn and dusty, and her posture was calm, almost regal despite the chaos surrounding them. "She's yours," a gruff voice echoed behind him. Ethan turned to see a Horkin merchant stepping from the shadows, a sly grin on his scaled face. "This one will settle your debt. Take her or you pay double, your choice." Ethan stared at the girl, confused. "A slave?" he asked, uncertain if he had heard correctly. The merchant nodded. "Exactly. One of our best. Obedient, capable, and cheap for someone like you." Ethan hesitated. A part of him recoiled at the thought of owning a sentient being, yet the alternative, death or imprisonment, was far worse. He knew he couldn't refuse. "Fine," he said, voice tight. "I'll take her." The merchant's grin widened. "Wise choice, human. She will serve you well. Don't disappoint her or me." He turned, disappearing into the violet haze, leaving Ethan alone with the alien girl. For a moment they simply stared at each other. Ethan didn't know where to start. I'm Ethan Cross," he said awkwardly. You can call me that." The girl tilted her head slightly, her violet eyes assessing him. "Lyra," she said softly. The name was gentle, almost musical, and Ethan noted how calm she seemed despite being treated as property. "You speak common?" Ethan asked, surprised. Most aliens had their own tongues and interpreters were rare. Lyra nodded. "Yes. I've learned from many teachers." She said it quietly, without arrogance, but with a precision that hinted at something deeper. As they walked toward Ethan's damaged ship, Lyra kept a careful pace, observing every detail. She pointed out loose debris and hidden obstacles, guiding Ethan with quiet instructions. Her insight saved him from stepping into dangerous gaps in the wreckage more than once. Ethan couldn't help but feel impressed. This wasn't a simple slave. She was clever, precise, and unusually calm for someone in her situation. By the time they reached the ship, dusk had settled over the horizon, casting long shadows across the ruined landscape. Ethan struggled with the controls, trying to start the engines despite the damage. Lyra knelt beside the control panel, her fingers moving over the circuits with uncanny understanding. "Careful," she said. "If you reverse the polarity here, you'll fry the main power conduit. Use the secondary bypass instead, it's safer." Ethan blinked. "You know how to fix this." Lyra smiled faintly, a small curve of her lips. "I know a lot of things," she said simply. The engine hummed to life, and Ethan let out a breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. For the first time since arriving on this planet, he felt a glimmer of hope. "Thanks," he said, unable to hide his surprise. "I didn't expect any of this." Lyra only nodded. "Expect nothing, observe everything." The words stuck with him as they lifted off the ground, leaving the ruined planet behind. The flight was tense. Ethan piloted carefully, aware that rival clans might track him. Lyra remained calm, her eyes scanning sensors and star charts, quietly assisting whenever Ethan made a miscalculation. After hours of travel, Ethan finally allowed himself to speak again. I've never had someone like you helping me." His voice faltered. "I'm used to relying on myself." Lyra tilted her head. "You are capable, Ethan Cross, but even the strongest need guidance at times." Her words carried weight, and Ethan realized she had studied him carefully. She understood human behavior far more than most aliens he had met. Something about her intelligence unsettled him. She was not just a survivor, she was someone who could shape events around her. As night fell across the alien reaches of space, Ethan finally allowed himself a moment of curiosity. "Lyra, why me? Why help me?" Lyra's gaze softened, though her expression remained unreadable. "I am observant. You are different from others, clever yet honest. You act without the arrogance most possess. That is rare in your species." Ethan chuckled nervously. "I'm just trying to survive." Lyra's violet eyes glinted. "Survival is not merely staying alive. It is understanding, adapting, and influencing. You have potential, Ethan Cross." He swallowed hard. He didn't fully understand what she meant, but a shiver ran down his spine. There was more to Lyra than met the eye. Far more. Hours passed, and Ethan finally allowed himself to rest in the co-pilot's seat while Lyra monitored the ship. He drifted into a fitful sleep, troubled by thoughts of his debt and the strange alien at his side. When he awoke, Lyra was kneeling near the navigation console, studying a star map. "We are approaching human-controlled space," she said softly. "It will not be safe to land openly. You must be careful." Ethan frowned. "Why? They won't know me here." Lyra's expression was serious. "Your reputation precedes you, human. Some humans respect you, some fear you. The factions that sold me will be searching. You cannot trust the authorities entirely." Ethan felt a knot tighten in his stomach. "You knew they would come for me." Lyra shook her head. "I do not know, but I anticipate. That is what I do." For the first time, Ethan began to understand that this girl, this supposed slave, was not ordinary. Every word, every gesture suggested training, intelligence, and experience far beyond someone of her age or apparent status. By the time they reached a hidden human station on the edge of controlled space, Ethan was both wary and amazed. Lyra guided him through secret docking protocols, evading patrolling security ships and sensors. They landed safely, and Ethan let out a deep sigh. "You saved us," he admitted quietly. Lyra looked at him, calm as ever. "We saved ourselves." Ethan stared at her, the words echoing in his mind. "We saved ourselves." She spoke as an equal, not a subordinate. He felt a strange mixture of admiration and unease. Later, in the dimly lit corridors of the station, Ethan finally asked the question that had been growing in his mind. "Lyra, what are you really? You're not just a slave, are you?" Lyra paused, her violet eyes meeting his. She said nothing at first, then with a faint smile, "I am more than you imagine, but that is not your concern yet." Ethan frowned, but before he could press further, alarms blared across the station. Red lights flashed and a voice echoed through the corridors. "Intruder alert. Unauthorized vessel detected. All personnel prepare for lockdown." Ethan's heart sank. "They found us." Lyra stood calm and ready. "Not yet, but they will. Prepare yourself, human. The real challenge is only beginning." As the alarms blared and the station descended into chaos, Ethan realized that accepting the slave as payment had brought him far more than he had expected. He had thought he was rescuing a helpless girl, but in reality he had just stepped into a web of intrigue, danger, and secrets that stretched across the galaxy. And in that moment, he understood one thing clearly. Lyra was not just a companion. She was a force, and together they might just survive the impossible. The station's alarms echoed through the corridors like a chorus of angered beasts. Red lights flashed on every wall, casting long, shifting shadows. Ethan's hands shook slightly as he gripped his blaster. He had dealt with pirates before and even hostile aliens, but this was different. This was a trap, and the slave he had accepted as payment was not as helpless as she seemed. Lyra moved beside him with fluid grace, her eyes scanning the corridor ahead. "They are looking for me," she said quietly, almost to herself. "And by extension for you," Ethan frowned. "Why would they care about me?" Lyra's gaze met his, steady and intense. "Because you chose to keep me alive. Most would not, but they fear what happens when I survive. And now so do you." Ethan swallowed hard. He had always known humans were underestimated in the galaxy. He had been laughed at, doubted, and dismissed. But now he felt the weight of that underestimation. If these aliens thought they could control him because he was human, they were about to learn otherwise. He nodded. "All right, then let's teach them a lesson." Lyra allowed a faint smile. "That is the spirit." Together, they moved through the station, sticking to maintenance corridors and shadowed passageways. Ethan's human instincts guided them past patrols, and Lyra's knowledge of alien technology helped him disable surveillance sensors silently. Despite the chaos, she moved like a commander, calm and precise. After several tense minutes, they reached a cargo bay. Ethan peeked through the doorway. There, clustered around crates and vehicles, were alien mercenaries, Horkin, like the ones who had sold Lyra, and others he did not recognize. Weapons glinted in the red light, and their movements were coordinated, precise, and deadly. "They are preparing for an ambush," Lyra whispered. "We must act carefully. Human tactics may surprise them, but only if we are smart." Ethan nodded, feeling a surge of determination. "What's the plan?" Lyra pointed to a control panel near the wall. "I can override the bay's internal doors. If we lock them inside, we can delay reinforcements. Then I will create a diversion. You take the flank and disable their weapons." Ethan's heart raced. "Flank and disable weapons, got it." Moments later, Lyra's fingers danced over the panel. A soft hum filled the room as the massive doors began to slide closed. Alarms blared, confusing the mercenaries, while Ethan slipped through shadows, taking cover behind crates. His human ingenuity and improvisation allowed him to move quickly and silently, just as Lyra had instructed. When the doors fully closed, Lyra activated a device that emitted a low-frequency pulse. Mercenaries staggered, weapons jammed, and the room filled with chaos. Ethan darted forward, taking advantage of the confusion to disable two of the closest attackers, his blaster precise and controlled. Lyra moved like a phantom, knocking aside anyone who approached her, her small frame belying her strength and skill. Ethan watched in awe. She wasn't a slave. She wasn't vulnerable. She was a fighter, a strategist, and someone who could command respect without words. After a tense 10 minutes, the last of the mercenaries were subdued or fleeing. Ethan and Lyra caught their breath, leaning against crates, the red light washing over them. You are incredible," Ethan said finally, shaking his head. "I had no idea," Lyra smiled faintly. "I told you, Ethan Cross, I am more than you imagine, but even now we are not safe." "This was only a test. They will come again stronger." Ethan's mind raced. "Why would they sell you? Why are you so important?" Lyra hesitated, her eyes distant. "I am a princess. My family rules a powerful empire. The faction that sold me sought to weaken my influence, to use me as a pawn. They underestimated me, and they underestimated you." Ethan blinked. "A princess?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, and now that you know, you must understand that we are both targets. Your actions have placed you in danger, but they also show your value. You are different from the others I have encountered. That matters." Ethan felt a mix of pride and fear. He had never sought to be heroic. He had only sought survival. Yet now he realized that humans, underestimated and overlooked, could accomplish more than even the most powerful aliens expected. "Then what do we do?" he asked. Lyra's eyes glimmered with resolve. "We survive. Then we return to my homeworld. We reclaim what is ours. And you will learn what it means to stand with me." The journey through the station's corridors continued. each step bringing new tension. Mercenaries were still searching, but Ethan and Lyra moved with precision, their teamwork growing with every challenge. Ethan marveled at her knowledge of security systems, alien languages, and combat tactics. She was a princess in title, but in action she was a warrior, a guide, and a strategist. Hours later, they reached a docking bay with a small transport vessel. Lyra scanned the ship and whispered, "This craft will suffice. It is undetectable by standard patrols, but we must leave quickly." Ethan piloted the ship cautiously, careful to avoid sensors and patrols. Lyra sat beside him, her hands hovering over the controls, ready to intervene. The stars stretched before them, vast and indifferent, but for the first time, Ethan felt a sense of purpose beyond mere survival. During the quiet moments of travel, Lyra spoke of her life, carefully omitting details that could reveal her identity fully. She spoke of her studies, her training, and her observations of the galaxy. Ethan listened, fascinated. Her knowledge of politics, science, and strategy was far beyond anyone he had met. "You've survived worse than this?" Ethan asked cautiously. Lyra's eyes glinted with a hint of sadness. "Yes, I have been captured, betrayed, and sold. I have learned to anticipate danger and to act decisively. That is why you are alive now. That is why we are alive now." Ethan's respect for her grew. Humans often relied on ingenuity and adaptability to survive, but here was someone who combined those qualities with intelligence, skill, and a deep understanding of the galaxy. He realized that together, they were stronger than either alone. As they approached the outer rim of human-controlled space, Ethan noticed another ship tailing them. "Lyra, we have company," he said quietly. Lyra's expression hardened. "They are scouts. They will not overtake us if we act swiftly." Ethan nodded. Together, they enacted a series of maneuvers that combined human unpredictability with Lyra's knowledge of alien tactics. They led the pursuing ship into a dense asteroid field, using the terrain to their advantage. The alien ship faltered, its sensors confused by the shifting rocks. Ethan felt a surge of triumph. Humans might be underestimated, but ingenuity, courage, and quick thinking could tip the scales in ways even the most powerful aliens could not predict. After hours of tense maneuvers, the pursuing ship gave up. Ethan and Lyra emerged into open space, exhausted but victorious. Lyra finally allowed herself a small smile. "You are resourceful, Ethan Cross. That is why you matter." Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, a mixture of pride and relief. "And you are incredible, Lyra. I had no idea what I was getting into when I accepted you as payment." Lyra's violet eyes met his. "Neither did I, but perhaps it was fate that brought us together. You are human, and yet you have proven yourself worthy." Ethan shook his head. He had always thought humans were outsiders in the galaxy, overlooked and underestimated. Yet here he was, standing beside a princess, surviving ambushes, outsmarting alien factions, and proving that human ingenuity and courage could hold its own, even against the most powerful enemies. As the stars stretched before them, Ethan realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of challenges. But with Lyra at his side, he knew humans could rise, not just survive. They could make a difference. And somewhere in the depths of his mind, Ethan understood that Lyra's true identity, the princess, the strategist, the fighter, would soon force him to confront choices he had never imagined. Choices that could change the fate of not only their lives but the entire galaxy. For now, though, he allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. They had survived the first ambush, outsmarted mercenaries, and navigated the dangers of space. Humans were underestimated, yes, but perhaps, just perhaps, that was their greatest advantage. Lyra leaned back in her seat, calm, alert, and confident. Ethan glanced at her, a mixture of admiration and respect filling his chest. "We make a good team," he said quietly. "We do," she agreed, her eyes shining with purpose. "And together, We will survive what comes next. The stars stretched endlessly before them, a galaxy full of danger, intrigue, and opportunity. Ethan and Lyra knew that challenges awaited, but for the first time they also knew that together they could face anything. And in that realization, a new hope was born, not just for them, but for the humans who had long been underestimated in a galaxy that was finally beginning to notice them. Ethan Cross tightened his grip on the control panel, the hum of the ship's engines vibrating beneath him. Outside, the stars stretched endlessly, calm and indifferent, but he knew the calm was temporary. Lyra had been preparing him for this moment ever since they had escaped the first ambush. They were heading to her homeworld, the heart of her empire, where her true status as a princess awaited acknowledgement, and where her enemies would try one last desperate attempt to stop her. Lyra sat beside him, quiet and composed. Her violet eyes scanned the star charts, anticipating every danger. Despite the danger, she exuded confidence that Ethan found both reassuring and inspiring. "We are approaching the border of my system," she said softly. "This is where most attempts to intercept me occur. Beyond this point, the Loyalists will aid us. But until then, we must be careful." Ethan nodded. "I understand, but I still don't know what to expect. Your homeworld, what is it really like?" Lyra's lips curved into a faint smile. "It is beautiful, thriving, and filled with people who trust me to lead. But it is also a target. My enemies seek to control or destroy what I represent. That is why we must act with caution." Hours passed, tension thick in the ship as they approached the planet's orbit. Ethan had grown accustomed to Lyra's calm guidance. He trusted her completely, following her instructions without hesitation. But even so, his pulse quickened as they saw the first signs of hostile ships on their sensors, sleek, dark vessels moving with precision, clearly intent on interception. "They have arrived," Lyra said, her voice steady. "Prepare yourself, Ethan. They will not hesitate." Ethan swallowed hard. He had faced dangerous mercenaries before, but the sight of these ships, well-equipped, coordinated, and numerous, sent a shiver down his spine. Yet beneath the fear, a spark ignited within him. Humans were underestimated. They were clever, adaptable, and unpredictable, and now it was time to prove it. Lyra guided him in a series of evasive maneuvers, weaving through the stars with skill and precision. "We must split their formation," she instructed. "Draw them into the asteroid field ahead. They will underestimate the risks. You know how humans can use the environment to their advantage. I will rely on your instincts." Ethan's fingers flew over the controls, executing sudden turns, abrupt decelerations, and daring dives between floating rocks. He felt a thrill he had never experienced before, a mix of fear, adrenaline, and purpose. Lyra's calm voice directed him, and together they created chaos among the hostile fleet. Ships collided with asteroids, sensors jammed, and communication lines faltered. The attackers were skilled, but Ethan's unpredictable maneuvers, guided by Lyra's insight, kept them one step ahead. After hours of tense engagement, the remaining hostile ships retreated, unable to anticipate the combined strategy of human ingenuity and Lyra's expertise. Ethan exhaled, feeling exhaustion in his bones but also pride. "We did it," he said quietly. Lyra nodded, though her eyes remained vigilant. This was only the first step. The real challenge awaits on the surface. As they descended through the atmosphere of Lyra's homeworld, Ethan's eyes widened at the sight before him. Towering cities gleamed in the sunlight, elegant spires reaching into the clouds, bridges connecting floating platforms, and vehicles moving with precision through the air. The planet was alive with energy, a testament to Lyra's people and their achievements. Lyra guided the ship to a hidden landing pad near a palace complex. "From here, we move carefully. My enemies may still be inside, disguised as loyalists or citizens. Trust no one outside this group." Ethan followed her lead, feeling a mixture of awe and responsibility. Humans had always been considered outsiders, underestimated in alien politics, yet here he was, playing a key role in a royal reclamation. The thought both exhilarated and terrified him. As they approached the palace, Lyra signaled for him to stay behind while she entered first. Her calm demeanor, grace, and authority radiated even in the shadows. Ethan could see the difference between her and any ordinary person. The confidence of someone who belonged, who commanded respect, and who could inspire loyalty with a single glance. Inside the palace, Lyra moved silently through the corridors, reaching the throne room without incident. Ethan followed at a safe distance, heart pounding as he prepared for whatever confrontation awaited them. In the throne room, a group of alien officials stood in tense discussion, their faces twisted with suspicion, anger, and fear. At the center was the traitorous faction leader who had orchestrated Lyra's capture and sale. He looked up as Lyra entered, and the room fell silent. "Lyra," the leader sneered, his voice laced with disdain, "you return thinking you can reclaim what was stolen." Lyra's voice was calm but firm. "I am not here to negotiate. I am here to reclaim my rightful place and to restore order. Your schemes end today." The officials whispered among themselves, some showing fear, others hesitation. Lyra raised a hand and the room fell silent. "You have had your chance to serve the Empire. Now you must answer for your betrayal. Any who resist will face the consequences." Ethan stepped forward from the shadows. "And anyone who underestimates humans," he added, "will learn quickly that we adapt, improvise, and survive. We don't back down." The traitor's eyes widened. A human in the palace. Ethan's pulse was steady, his presence a living reminder of human resilience and ingenuity. "Yes, and this human will not fail." Lyra's loyalists moved swiftly, securing the traitors and restoring order. Ethan assisted, his quick thinking and adaptability proving invaluable in neutralizing traps and securing entrances. The combined force of human ingenuity and Lyra's command overwhelmed the traitorous officials before they could react. After the palace was secured, Lyra turned to Ethan. "You have done more than survive. You have proven that humans are not to be underestimated. Your courage, intelligence, and loyalty have saved this moment." Ethan shook his head, exhausted but proud. "I just did what I could. But standing beside you, I understand why humans are stronger than many aliens realize. We survive, adapt, and sometimes we surprise everyone." Lyra's eyes softened, the faintest smile touching her lips. "You are right. And now humanity will be recognized as an ally, not just outsiders. Your actions have changed perceptions. You have made a difference, Ethan Cross." The palace buzzed with activity as loyalists restored order and celebrated Lyra's return. Citizens, unaware of the full danger she had faced, cheered as their princess appeared publicly, dignified and unbroken. She stood tall, her presence commanding respect, and beside her, Ethan felt a surge of pride. Humans were underestimated, yes, but together they had altered the course of history. Later, on the palace balcony overlooking the city, Ethan and Lyra stood in silence. The wind swept through their hair, carrying the sounds of life, industry, and celebration. Ethan felt a deep sense of accomplishment, of purpose, and of hope. "You've shown me a side of humans I never fully appreciated," Lyra said softly. "We have faced danger together and we have survived. That is not a small thing in this galaxy." Ethan smiled, looking at the horizon. "I've learned from you too, not just about surviving, but about strength, strategy, and courage. You're more than a princess, Lyra. You're a leader and a warrior." Lyra's violet eyes sparkled in the fading sunlight. "And you, Ethan Cross, are more than a human outsider. You are someone who can stand beside the greatest powers in the galaxy, not because of strength alone, but because of your mind, your heart, and your courage. Together, we have shown what humans are capable of." Ethan felt a swell of pride. Humans were often overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated, yet here he was, recognized by a powerful alien princess and instrumental in restoring her empire. He realized that being human did not mean being weak. It meant being creative, adaptable, and resilient. As the stars began to appear in the evening sky, Ethan and Lyra looked out over the city, aware that challenges would continue, that enemies would always exist, and that the galaxy was vast and unpredictable. Yet in that moment, they knew one undeniable truth. Humans could rise, stand tall, and change the course of events even in a galaxy that often dismissed them. Lyra placed a hand lightly on Ethan's shoulder. This is only the beginning. There is more to be done and more dangers to face, but you have proven yourself, and together we will face them all. Ethan nodded, a sense of purpose flooding through him. He had started as a human trader, desperate and underestimated. Now he stood beside a princess, a strategist, and a leader. Together, they had survived ambushes, outsmarted mercenaries, and reclaimed a throne. And humanity, through his actions, had finally begun to be noticed. The stars above stretched endlessly, a galaxy full of opportunities, dangers, and mysteries. But Ethan knew one thing with certainty. Humans were not outsiders. They were survivors, innovators, and a force to be reckoned with. And with Lyra at his side, they could face anything. For the first time, Ethan felt that humans were not just living in the galaxy, they were shaping it. And that realization, simple as it seemed, was more powerful than any weapon, any fleet, or any strategy. As night fell, the palace lights glittered below, and Ethan and Lyra stood together, ready for whatever challenges awaited. The galaxy had underestimated humans for too long. Now they would remember them, and the story of survival, ingenuity, and courage would be told for generations to come.